You know, a lot of folks are into the healthcare conversation because of the kids. I don't know if there's a great majority of saying, hey, let's do universal healthcare for the adults. But a lot of people get very compassionate, very missional to say, you know, the kids deserve healthcare. Maybe that's where we should start. Is that
Well, as a matter of fact, there is a program now called Healthy Family.
1 minute.
Where you have the ability to enroll the kids in a plan. It's one that's very affordable. And in many respects, it's a plan that is underutilized. Underutilized from the standpoint that we don't have the parents enrolling the children in the same opportunity that is there. So there's plenty of room for the kids.
I'm going to roll
My
the bed now.
judgment tells
30
me that
seconds.
there's probably another 200,000 kids out there that could, in fact, be enrolled in this program if there was a mind to do that.
Senator, can you hang on? I got a news break
Sure.
here. All right, State Senator Dave Cox. We're going to add to him some other open microphones here at the table, so we'll take a break here at the top, come back with a second hour of the Eric Hogue Show. Special broadcast coming to you live from the Capitol today, an inside perspective of leaders here in California and why they do what they do and what they're talking about and representing you. All right here on the New Talk of Northern California. This is the Eric Hogue Show. A special broadcast tonight, pulling away from the calls and our conversation and topics, and sitting in the front yard of the Capitol here in Sacramento. It is a New Talk of Northern California. This is the Eric Hogue Show. That toll-free number is available if you want to use it, 866-780-3742. 780-ERIC. Don't forget about the website, erichogue.com. Put an article up last night about a rusty gate, and I would appreciate maybe go take a peek, pull that down, and print it out. Today a special Monday, and kind of a throwback day for me. I get a chance to play inside baseball with some of my guys and ladies who come by the broadcast table. Every year at the Capitol, they do what they call Capitol Clear Speak. If you've never heard this before, it's a chance for radio and media to come down, some television, to come down to the Capitol and meet the players in the mix of whatever you want to call this, politics in California. The belly of the beast, the bill mill, which you're probably both. I got a couple of politicians who are looking at me like deer in headlights. You're probably both reading legislation day in, day out, 24/7, trying to make a decision, a good decision for the people, for the residents of California. And you know, each and every afternoon we talk about making a difference on this show, a missional effort inside of our neighborhoods, our cities, our state, and this country, hugging the necks of those next to us and trying to make it a positive influence. With that, I'm more than happy to have at my broadcast table State Senator Dave Cox from District Number 1, because it is always number one in your heart, not just in your program. Dave Cox from Fair Oaks, and we're going to get to Ted Gaines here momentarily.
Well, you know, Ted and I share, Ted is the Assemblyman for District 4, and we share some of that territory. You know, with I have a portion of some of his counties. You were talking about, by the way, Eric, reading bills. You probably have already told your audience that there's about 3,000 bills, give or take some a year, that go through the legislature. Some of them are fairly substantial, and then the others are kind of crazy, and you wonder, you know, what people were thinking when they introduced those bills. But you know, for whatever reason, bills are introduced that don't have a lot of substance to them. But in the final analysis, there are about 3,000. And so all of us, Assemblyman Gaines as well as myself, attempt to read the bills and try to understand them, try to understand who's supporting and who's opposing, and then all of the pluses and minuses of a particular bill.
You know, if people are sitting in their cars right now, driving home in the middle of traffic, right? And get something done about infrastructure. And we'll get there momentarily. But they're saying, how do you do this? How do you read? How do you vote on 3,000 pieces of legislation, Senator Cox?
Well, because you see them incrementally, and not all of you're not going to see all the 3,000 bills, because some of them are going to start in the Assembly and never get out of the Assembly committees, and some are going to start in the Senate and never get out of the Senate committee. But you're going to see a significant number of those bills, and you're going to see them in committee. You see it on an incremental basis, and then you have people coming into your office to talk to you about a particular bill, and you ask them about it, and they tell you, and then you have professional advocates coming in. They're called lobbyists. They come in and tell you about a bill. So I would think most members of the Assembly and most members of the Senate have a pretty fair understanding about what the bills look like. By the way, let me just talk about, you were talking about people stuck in their cars. I'm really proud of C.C. Myers and the job that C.C. did in getting that maze put back together in a relatively short period of time. I've been talking about that all day long, other places about a public-private partnership. And you say, well, what's public-private partnership about this? Well, I'll tell you what public-private partnership in this particular situation was. Government got out of the way and let the private sector, handle that, and he did such a great job. He earned a bonus, and we're all proud of the job that he did.
From Rancho Cordova, right?
Rancho Cordova, which is in my Senate district. It's not in Ted's Assembly district. It's in part of it is in Mr. Nilo's district, as well as Alan Nakanishi.
And these are folks in San Francisco, the Bay Area, where the maze went out. And,
right.
And if you wouldn't have had him involved, it would have been, what were they saying, 8, 9, 10 months possibly?
Well, I don't know what the total time would have been if CC had not been involved. But CC has a great record of getting things done. He did that with respect to taking care of the Northridge earthquakes infrastructure. And you just have to give him a lot of credit. There are a lot of other people that could have perhaps done that as well, but in this particular situation, he won the bid, got the job done, and we had a similar situation where the rail track, the trestle was burned, and they literally got a line that was going east to west and got both tracks up and running in about 6 weeks, and it can be done when you can get government out of the way.
I'm looking at the fine folks behind you that say, hey, the state senator has to go, but before you go, I have to ask the venerable Dave Cox, because we're going to go to Ted Gaines, who is relatively just across that starting line here at the Capitol. So from old school to you and I, sure. Ted, new school over here, is it getting any better down here, Dave?
Well, the answer to your question is that we've got some very bright people here. Ted Gaines is a bright young guy. He's got a great future in politics. There are some of us that are on our way out, depending upon what happens to term limits and what happens to redistricting and all that sort of thing. But we've got a lot of great young candidates that are members who are here, and there are a lot of great candidates coming up. That's the one thing about term limits is it does in fact change the mix a little bit, and that's not all bad.
Senator
good to
Cox,
see you, by the
always
way.
good to see you. Thank you. The venerable state senator Dave Cox.
Senator Cox, thank you so much.
Pleased that you're here today for this Capitol Clear Speak.
Well, and you know what? Democrats are coming out this year.
Well, and that's probably a good thing.
I think it's a great thing.
Because as you begin to, you want to ask, you mentioned Sally Lieber is going to come on the program in a few minutes. You be able to ask her why she thought it was necessary that she introduce an anti-spanking bill. I mean, that probably is right down your alley. You probably want all the details of that.
She and I actually talked about that already. When that first hit the press, we were on the phone with her the next day, and you know what? And she was very upfront about it. We had a very nice conversation.
Well, and if Floyd Levine comes by, you may very well want to ask him about the clandestine bulbs, and there are lots of bills that you can ask about. We had a discussion a couple of days ago, last Thursday, to talk about one of our colleagues from Southern California believed that it was a good idea, believed that it would help fight obesity in the state of California. If restaurant chains that had 10 or more entities would in fact print the total calories, the total fat content, trans fat, and the other kind of fat, put sodium and all of that sort of thing.
And you're supposed to find room for all that on the menu for every meal and offering?
What it meant was that these restaurants will, in fact, have to expand their menu. And if they've got a board up there, they're going to have to figure out how to expand that board. And, I think it's important for people to, in fact, know caloric content. But I don't think you wait to the restaurant to get there to look to see what's on the menu. You walk in with your family. The fact of the matter is that if you go into a fast food place and you order a four patties of a hamburger, and you got 4 slices of cheese, and you got guacamole. I mean, no one needs to tell you that that's 2,000 or 3,000 calories, and add a milkshake and some French fries, and all of a sudden you're talking about some real caloric intake. But somehow our colleague on the other side of the aisle believed that it would be important that if everybody knew that. I'm one who doesn't think that will make a great deal of difference. Frankly, people need to get off their behind and get off the couch and get out and exercise a little bit and do some of the things that we used to do when you and I were kids.